welcome everyone, and thank you all for coming to our panel discussion event on choosing career paths. So you can see our schedule here over to the right. And so, yeah, we'll have a fun and enlightening discussion here on choosing a career path. So we'll be looking at some topics like what factors do you consider when choosing a career path? How do you find meaning and purpose in choosing or in your career? How do you best discover like what your skills and interests and values are when choosing a career path? So we'll kind of look at some of that stuff. And then, of course, we'll have time for Q&A at the end. During the Q&A, if you ask a question, you will be entered into drawing to win a gift card. So we'll have 2 gift card opportunities for that. And then we'd love for you to stay for refreshments, some homemade cookies and refreshments afterwards. So, okay. And for those that may be joining online, appreciate y'all joining in. During the Q&A part, just comment in any questions that you may have. So you can do that throughout the event as well. So, all right. So what y'all came here for the panel discussion, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our moderators first. And so first up, we have Gabe Campos. Gabe is the muscle of career services, maybe. And then we have Philip Lopez. Philip, if you've been listening in lately, he's kind of the voice of career services. And then for our panelist, if you give a warm welcome to Russell Cowan. He is our campus pastor / pro fisherman, right, Russell?
Aspiring pro.
There we go. And then next up we have Coach Cass, head volleyball coach, assistant basketball coach.
Hello.
And Coach Cass, she could probably be the only panelist and entertain us all. That's kind of the personality she has. All right, and then next up we have John Campos. He is the director of, John Gamboa. John Gamboa, my bad. So John is our director of admissions, and he is also our reigning coffee and donuts game champion. So we need someone to come beat him in coffee and donuts. So. All right, so before we get started here, I'm just going to go ahead and say a prayer. So if you'll bow your heads with me. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for the opportunity to get together here tonight, and we just ask that you'll bless our time together here and just pray for a fruitful discussion here on choosing a career path, and we just ask that all that we do tonight glorifies you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank y'all for coming. So I just want to, first question, just go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us how you arrived in your current position.
Me first? Okay. I'm Cass Smith. I am an alumni. Did I say it right? Alumni? Played volleyball and basketball here from 2013 to 2017. Kind of floated around as volunteer assistant. There's a really big turnover with coaches at the time. Just not the best fits for the children here at the time. And post-COVID, stuck around, went to Sky Ranch. I enjoyed myself. I had a good time. I know a lot of people didn't, but I like being outdoors. And the coach was leaving that year, and she kind of pushed for me to take over. And yeah, that's kind of how it went down. Retention, keep people around. I already built a relationship with a lot of people here. And yeah, just kind of took over the reins.
Right on. I'm up.
You're up.
All right, so my name is Russell Cowan, and I'm the campus pastor. And how I ended up here is I moved to Hobbs in 2019 to start a church. And then in 2022, August, I got a call from a guy who works at the university named Brian Arnold. And he said, hey, we need a new campus pastor. Would you be interested in that position? And I said, I have a lot of questions, but let me get some answers and we'll see what happens. And so I ended up kind of refreshing my resume, sat down and talked with Amanda about it a couple of times. And then the week before school started in 2022, I came on as the campus pastor. Is that right? Did I answer good?
Great answer.
All right, thanks.
All right. Well, I'm John Gamboa. I am an alumni here as well. I played baseball here from 2019 to 2022. And just recently graduated this past May, and just happened to fall on top of the opportunity where they are hiring a director of undergrad admissions, and just took the opportunity just to start my career somewhere instead of having to go back and go into the massive world of looking for a job. I had the opportunity here, so.
Very good, very good. Alrighty, guys, let's get it. So, for the first question for y'all today would be, what is the difference between a job and a career? Coach Cass?
Okay. I think everyone can get a job. Well, mostly. I think a job is, it gives you money to pay bills, is essentially what people will say. I think the difference between a job and a career is that career provides fulfillment. It's supposed to be passion. You're supposed to want to wake up every day to go do it, look forward to doing it, grow in it, and it should be something that brings you joy at the end of the day. It's a choice. But yeah, I think that's what the difference between a job and a career. A job is like a necessity, and a career is something that you desired and you worked hard for. Not to say you don't work hard in a job, but the career is always the goal.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I would just say, in addition to what Cass said, is a job is probably not somewhere you plan on staying for a long time. A career is somewhere where you want to invest yourself, and at least you can see yourself staying there for several years, if not for the rest of your life. But also in a career, it's a place where you want to be able to not just get the check to pay the bills, but where you use your education, your gifts, talents, abilities, and your skills and your passions kind of all in one place and invest yourself there, again, for the long haul. And then, like Cass said, it's something you want to enjoy doing. It's not just something where you're just like, I'm just going here to get a paycheck and get what I want or need. You want to be able to get some fulfillment, some joy out of that.
So for me, kind of how I like to look at it, a job, something that you don't really like waking up to go do. So for that, if you feel yourself having to force yourself to get out of bed or leave, say that you go in at night, or you have to force yourself to leave the house to go to work, that's more of a job. Career should be something that you truly enjoy, that you want to do every day in and day out, that you can see, like they said, you can see yourself doing every single day. A job is essentially just to try to pay bills.
Those are all great answers. All right, so the next question is, what are the most crucial factors considered when choosing a career path?
I think just going back to the passion of it, I think, like Russell said, using what you're good at, what you enjoy doing, and kind of making something out of it. It just depends on what the gig is. If you're in a people person type of thing, then probably the best outlet for you. If you're more reserved, then maybe working from home or working a more singular job, not so much of a team dynamic. I think it's just really gaining a better understanding of self to know where you not only are you going to kind of establish yourself, but thrive within it. You don't want to be stagnant. You want to grow. You don't want to just hold yourself in one box. You should be able to evolve with what you're doing.
Good. So critical factors to consider? All right. So I've got several. I think one big thing is, in addition to can I see myself staying here for a long time, is what I'm doing, is my career path going to help me feel like I'm living a meaningful human life? Like, am I contributing something, and am I getting something out of this? Is it having an impact on more than just me? So I think that's something important to consider when choosing a career path. Is it making me feel like I'm living in a meaningful way? Is this something that I feel like I'm living for a purpose or with a purpose? I think that's also important to consider. Is this purposeful? But I think other things to consider when you're considering a career path also would be, how is this career path going to affect my family or the family that I hope to have? And what I mean is, like if you hope to get married and have kids and live that life, then you need to realize that the career path that you choose may or may not positively or negatively impact your family life. And because as a person in a career, especially if you're going to have a family, your family, I think, should be, apart from your relationship with God, I think your family should be your number one priority over your career. And so you don't want to choose a career path that is going to not allow you to be a good parent, a good spouse, because your spouse and your kids will need you. And so you don't want to choose a career path that could take away from those things, because at the end of the day, if you make tons of money and you have a really successful career, but then along the way you lose a marriage, you lose relationships with your kids, is it really worth making all that money? Is it worth achieving all your goals and dreams and making a whole lot of cash if you've lost your family? And so I think that when you're choosing a career path, you want to keep that in mind. Choose something that is going to allow you to be a good parent and a good spouse. But at the same time, you want to choose something that allows you to make money, right? You don't want to not make money. I mean, obviously, you're going to school, you're getting an education, you're going to choose a career path to make money, and so you want to be able to have an income. Well, is the income that you will make from that career going to allow you to achieve your goals and your dreams? Are you going to be able to get the stuff that you want? If you're striving to live the American dream, is your career path going to allow you the ability to make the income to buy the stuff that you want? Let me see. One other thing I would say in choosing a career path, right? That's the questions we're on. Critical factors to consider is, will the career path that you choose have the potential to violate your beliefs or values or morals? Or will the career path you choose require you to do things that might compromise your integrity? Because you may have a career path that you choose, but no matter what happens, you have a reputation, and you want to have a good reputation. And so wherever you go, wherever you are, you don't want to choose a career path that could damage your reputation and damage your name. And so as you're pursuing something like that in a career, you want to be sure that it allows you to maintain your character and not to violate your morals. That's all I got.
Wow.
That's a
All
great
right,
answer.
well, we're hard to follow that up, but what I see kind of like what's critical is age. I think age plays a big part, because if you're going into a career where it could take you 10, 15, even 20 years to move up the chain, that might not be something that you kind of look at as a future career. You want to try to find a way to move up the chain, as not essentially as quick as you can, but if you know you're going to be there for a long time, you don't want to be at the bottom of the command chain for your entire time there. So kind of your age and kind of what workforce and where you're going to go, I feel like that kind of plays a big part in like choosing a career, and one of the critical things you should kind of take into consideration.
Very good. All right, John, we're going to start with you on this one.
Sure with me, I don't-
How can someone best discover their skills, interests, and values as it relates to career path selection?
I think just trying different things, going out there. You're never really gonna know what you truly want to do unless you just try different things. You could get into a job, think you like it, but you never know. You could see a different opportunity somewhere else. There can be many different things, though. It's volunteering places. You really never know kind of what you want to do unless you go out there and experience a bunch of different things.
Russell?
Right on. Number 3 or number 4?
Number 4.
So all right, making
Number
sure.
4.
All right, so how can you best discover your skills and interests? I would say number 1 is to know yourself, and you know what kind of stuff you're into, what you like, what gets you fired up, what gets you energized. So knowing yourself, and also knowing like what you're not good at. You have to know your own limitations. You have to be able to say, okay, I can write down on paper things I know that I'm not good at, skills that I don't have. And so you want to know what you're good at and also what you're not good at. Another way I think you can discover those skills is to ask people who know you well. Ask your friends, ask family members, ask your coaches, ask your professors, because they may be able to identify things in you that you're good at, skills and abilities that you have that you're not even aware of. So ask people who know you really well, and at the same time, as you're trying to figure out what those skills and abilities are, ask them those questions, and then also say, I need you to be brutally honest with me and tell me if I'm not good at something. Tell me if I'm lacking in a certain skill, and take notes on those answers. Take notes on your own answers to those questions. What are my skills, talents, abilities? And then also, when you ask coach, teammate, family, friends who know you well, who will speak into your life, take notes on what they say to you when they tell you what they see you're good at, what your interests are, what your skills are, things like that. One other thing I would say in discovering your skills and interests and values as it relates to a career path, I would say to commit yourself to a loving and a caring church family who regularly preaches the gospel of Jesus Christ, who works hard to help you read and understand the Bible, and who values close Christian community. And the reason I would say that is because if you can find that, and you have to look hard sometimes, a caring community of believers, they should be people who care about you and who care about your life and who care about your decisions. And so work in that environment to build close relationships. And I think all of those things working together can help you discover your skills and interests and values as it relates to career path.
Coach Cass?
I think the biggest thing I could tell anybody is to fail as many times as you can, as long as life allows you to. Perfection's boring. I think a lot of us, especially at y'all's age, have this idea of yourself and what you want to be when you grow up, but you're going to change your major 2-3 times. Come in as, oh yeah, I'm going to be a business, and then, oh, kinesiology sounds cool. You know what, I'm going to get my general studies. You know what, I'm going to go to education. I think just trial and error as long as you can with the time that you have to do so, because you don't learn anything from doing something right. You learn from making those mistakes. I think just kind of thugging it out, going through life, and allowing people the grace to tell you about yourself and holding yourself accountable, learning what self-integrity is, because we can all read off the dictionary definition of integrity, but you really don't know that on a personal level until you're in a situation, scenario where you may be compromising not only what you want for yourself, but just the idea that other people have for yourself. I think learning who you are as a person, and it's not fun, it's not pretty, it's really grimy sometimes, but kind of accepting that, okay, these are what my said limitations are, or understanding that sometimes you don't have limitations and you're holding yourself back with an idea that was either predisposed upon you by mom or dad, or the idea where you have friends who are in a certain aspect of life in their 20s, but you're just not there yet. So then we start thinking, oh, well, I'm not good enough. But I think just trying it out and seeing what's best for you, because at the end of the day, you're the one that pays the bills. You're the one that has to get up, go to the job. You're the one that looks back in the mirror at yourself. So if you're living for others, then you're not really living for self. So I think that's something to really consider. The end.
All right, so we're going to take a little break and do some rapid fire questions. All right, so there's no pressure, okay? All right. Sunrise or sunset?
Sunset.
Sunset.
Sunrise.
Sunrise, all right.
Early bird or night owl?
Night
Night
owl.
owl.
Early bird.
What's your favorite app on your phone?
TikTok.
Snapchat.
My favorite app on my phone? The weather app.
It's not the Bible app?
Ooh, I could say that, but that would be so stereotypical, man. I'm trying to not be stereotypical here. I check it like 5 times a day. The weather app. I'm not even playing.
More than the Bible app?
More than Coach Appel?
You check that app too? All right.
Movie theater or Netflix?
Movie theater. Love popcorn.
Movie theater.
Netflix, because it's got Seinfeld on Netflix.
One word to describe your morning routine.
Slow.
Coffee.
Progressive.
All right. Favorite vacation spot?
Beach.
Beach, I guess, yeah.
Ruidoso. Yeah.
Ruidoso?
Yeah.
Russell? What's your favorite vacation spot?
Beach.
The beach?
The beach.
Not the church?
A vacation.
That's work, man. That's work.
All right, Coach Cass. Well, we have a special question here for you today.
All right.
This is going to test your coaching a little bit to see how much of knowledge you know about your own sport that you coach.
Dang.
What is the diameter of a volleyball?
900 square of a volleyball? Oh.
Oh.
That's a question. Yeah. Diameter. I'm just gonna ballpark it. 7.7 inches.
I don't know the diameter, but we're just going to, just a question just to ask you to see.
Oh.
Someone look it up.
I know, yeah, I'm curious now. Guess. Hey.
Oh, wow.
Look at that. See, shot in the dark. If you just believe in yourself, you too can be successful. Oh. Like I'm about the square foot of the court. I know that.
All right, I got 2 questions for John and Russell,
Oh, for both of us?
for the both of y'all.
Oh, okay.
How much conditioner do you use for your hair?
I use more than my wife does.
don't use a lot.
You don't use, like, you're a 1 pump, 2 pump kind of guy or what?
Well, I like condition my hair like once a week.
Once a week?
Yeah.
I don't believe that.
Just unfair.
And,
Wait, what? Once a week?
All right, last question. How many combs do y'all own?
One.
One?
4.
All right.
I got one last question for John and Coach Cass. What is your favorite sports memory?
Sports memory.
Like specific to USW?
It doesn't. It could be
Oh,
anything
okay.
you want, or it could be a coaching memory. Whatever your favorite ones that stand out the most.
That's tough.
It's a lot of years.
It's a good question. Favorite? I would say for me, back in high school, I threw a 6-inning shutout in the 3rd round of playoffs.
Pretty good statistic there, sir.
Yeah.
For me, probably, yeah, back in high school, Texas volleyball is a pretty big deal. And the high school I went to, Franklin High School, class of 2011, we have a pretty solid reputation of always winning. So I think just going from freshman year to senior year, we had 24 in my freshman class. There's only 2 of us on senior night because our coach was kind of crazy, but she's a great lady. And just the rivalry of it all, going into the big crowds constantly. I think I just kind of missed the energy of it. That was always a good time.
All right, well, that's it for the rapid fire questions.
That was hard.
Was it?
I don't know if I ever recover.
All right, so let's get back to the questions. All right, so how do you find meaning and purpose in a career?
Me? Okay. I think it just depends on what your goals are. Like as a coach, you kind of don't, I don't have any kids, but I feel like I do. You're dealing with young adults, 17 to 24 years old, and everything is so significant. It's so important to them in the moment, and it is in the moment. But I think that is just a whole part of it. I like seeing the progression of the human, of the person. You know, let's say day one, they're struggling, their insecurities are really out in the open, they're exposed, and then maybe a week or month or even in the spring semester, they're walking around with confidence. They're coming up to you to tell you, oh, like the thing that I struggled with, I'm no longer struggling with it. Or if they get a job, or if they were struggling with an assignment and now they're getting A's. Those are kind of the little things that I take into account, or even on a personal level, when they're going through life as one does, they know how to better navigate. So for me, I mean, that's kind of my priority, is seeing them kind of grow and prosper as a human. Because at the end of the day, the sport's not forever. One day your body could betray you, maybe your heart's not into it anymore. So what kind of person are we sending into the world to make it a little bit better?
Meaning and, what was the question, right? Meaning and purpose?
How do you find meaning and purpose in a career?
So, for me, are you like bettering yourself overall as a person? Does your job bring you down, or is it lifting you throughout the day? That's how you can find meaning and purpose. Back to kind of, do you really truly love your job, or is it just a job? Or you love your career? So I finding ways where how it constantly improves yourself. Does it test your knowledge, or does it stay stagnant? I find ways to find meaning and purpose for a career.
Yep. I've got a lot here, and I'll read them fast, but my answer is kind of double what I said earlier. But how do you find meaning and purpose in a career? Generally speaking, does the career bring you joy and satisfaction? It doesn't mean everything is going to be perfect. It's not going to be great all the time, every day. But generally speaking, over the long haul, does it bring you joy, satisfaction? Second one I have is, does your career, and I said this earlier, does your career allow you to be the best spouse and parent that you can be? Because if things at home are not good, then your career might suffer, or the other way around. If things in your career are not good, your home life might suffer, and you don't want to have to go through either one of those things if you can avoid it in your career path. Another thing, will your career path allow you to go as far as you want to go? John kind of said this earlier, like if you want to climb the corporate ladder, if you want to go far up the corporate ladder, will your career path that you're choosing allow you to get there? Will it allow you to achieve those goals? You don't want to end up somewhere where you're stuck and there's no chance for improvement or to go up if you want to go. So choose a career path that allows you to go far. And then one last one I would say is to find, what was the question again? Hold up. Let me read it again. How do you find meaning and purpose? I would say, ask yourself before you choose a career path is, will I be able to honor God, to live for the glory of God in this career path? 1 Corinthians 10:31 says, whether you eat or drink or whatever you do all to the glory of God. So will I be able to glorify God in the career path that I choose? Will it allow you to live that life that will bring glory and honor and worship to God through your career? And you don't have to be, hear me say this, you don't have to be like a pastor of a church or a church nursery worker or work at a church in order to glorify God in your career path. You can glorify God in almost every career path. I would say all, but in almost every career path you can glorify God. So choose one that will allow you to glorify Him in your career path.
Very good, very good. Russell, we're going to start with you on this one. How do networking and mentorship play a role in guiding one's career choices?
Yeah, so networking and mentorship are incredibly important because networking can open up doors for you that might not be open otherwise. So building relationships through networking can help you really achieve your career goals and your career dreams. And then mentorship, right? Mentorship is massive because if you can find someone who is in a similar career path as you, who is willing to mentor you, they have more knowledge than you have in the career, they have more wisdom than you have, and they can potentially help you avoid pitfalls that you might not be aware of, or maybe that you might not see coming. So having someone who can mentor you through those things. And I would also say having a mentor who you really respect and you're really willing to learn from can allow you to learn from their mistakes. I was always told growing up, learn from your mistakes. Well, if you can learn from someone else's mistakes, then that can help you avoid pitfalls in your career. So find a mentor who you can ask them, hey, tell me if you were going to do this again, what you would do differently. What would you not do going down this career path? And that can really help you, I think, to avoid some major pitfalls.
John?
I think networking is very big, especially really in any career pathway, especially on the business side. It's who you know and what they do. That's what the name of the game is. So the more people you know, the more they know is how you can establish yourself somewhere into a big corporation or even to start your own business. There's a lot with networking and mentoring. And then you go on the mentor side. If you know everyone who's been doing it for 40 years, you take what they know, take their knowledge and apply it to what you're doing. You're not going to get it right the first time. No one ever gets it right the first time. So the more you can limit the mistakes that you start out right away, the better off you're going to be. If that's business, if that's in healthcare, if that's coaching. So just who you know and this very big aspect of networking.
Very good. Coach Cass?
I think networking is major in that you get to just kind of mingle, rub elbows with the right people, know of things, kind of put yourself out there for better opportunities, and not just for yourself, but for the people that you are mentoring. You learn a lot from observing. Traditions are passed down through word of mouth and learning and watching. So I think with networking comes a mentorship, because maybe you observe something through the networking that allows you to better understand those that you are mentoring, understand people. That way you're a better communicator, better at your job, more patient, more understanding, more empathetic, but also know how to hold people to a standard. Establish a standard that's easy to communicate, easy to hold those accountable to, and easy to follow to. Networking just kind of puts you on the map. Mentoring is where you get to test out the things you learn in networking.
Very good. Coach Cass, we're going to start with you on this one. What are some common misconceptions or myths about selecting a career path that you've encountered?
I mean, I've heard in recruiting, I always get a student athlete that's like, I know I'm starting late in the recruitment. NAI is a funny thing where we could recruit y'all in July and y'all have to be here in a week, and it kind of works out most of the time. It's a little crazy, but it does. So I think that's something a lot of people can take into account. Like, let's say today, you're majoring in nursing. Cool. You go into it, it's not your cup of tea, it's not what you thought it was going to be, it's not what you had hoped and dreamed of. And let's say you start your own business. Now you're an entrepreneur. You don't have your degrees in that, but now you're finding fulfillment and joy in the career path that you didn't really choose but fell onto through trial and error. So I think the myth would be it's too late to start. I don't think it's ever too late to start. Start fresh, start something new. I think a lot of people hold themselves back, but like I said, with preconceived notions of what maybe people wanted for them and not really allowing themselves to understand that it's about you at the end of the day. But I think that's the only thing I can really think of, honestly, that I've heard. Yeah.
Very good. Russell?
I'd say a misconception would be the role that education plays. We shouldn't overdo education in the role of choosing a career, but also we shouldn't underdo education. What I mean is, like, someone may think, well, if I go all the way through and get a doctorate degree, then that's going to set me up for my career path. Well, then you may have someone else who doesn't get an education at all and pursues the same career path, and the person that doesn't have a college education could potentially do better in the career than the person with a doctorate degree. And the reason I say that is because education is good, and you should get as much education as you can, but experience goes a long way too. And so I would say if you can choose a career path, choose where you can get education and experience at the same time, like through internships, through, like we talked about mentoring a while ago, where you can have, if you can graduate with a degree and with experience, that will help you get a lot further along. So don't underplay the role of education, but don't overplay it either. And the same is with experience. Those two things, I think, are kind of two sides of the same coin. You want to have both of those. So that was what I would say as far as a misconception.
John?
So that a no is never a final no. I mean, no could temporarily delay things, but if you think of all the major corporations, how many times those guys have been told no, that this isn't going to work, that this will never happen. Now look at all these big corporations, Apple, Tesla, for example. They were told no millions of times, but now look at them. So no is never a final no. You might have to take back and look at what you're doing and reevaluate, but there's never a final no with how passionate you can be with something.
All right, last question. So what role does education play in career decision making? Go ahead and start, John.
Right. Education, it can play a big part. It kind of just depends on kind of like your learning style and kind of how it is and how you are. If you're a very big learner, you need to learn from teachers, from experience and everything, and someone telling you how to do something. Then education could be your way. But there's also people out there who can pick up a hammer and they never know, and they never have a single ounce of education, and they're entrepreneurs and have $1 million businesses, and you would never know, and you think they would have their master's degrees in business, and they have nothing. So education, it kind of just depends on the person you are and what works best for you, and how is education going to get you to your final result, what you want.
Russell?
So education definitely in choosing a career is massively important. It requires hard work, and it's expensive, right? Getting an education is expensive. So it plays a key role in helping you find the right career and pursuing the career, but at the same time, education can open doors for you. If you've got a person who's got a lot of experience, no education, you've got education and experience, that education could open up a door for you into that career path that maybe a person that doesn't have the education might not have. So I would say definitely education is super important. But just as I said a while ago, if you can get education and experience, real life, real world experience at the same time, those two things can go hand in hand to, I think, even just open up more doors for you along the way.
Coach Cass?
I agree. I mean, there are a lot of careers that a lot of y'all are trying to pursue that require y'all to have a degree, multiple degrees. But I think gaining a better understanding of how you learn, whether it be visually, hands-on, or listening, and understanding that sometimes how someone else is progressing within your class does not determine your worth and what you're capable of doing. Just to piggyback on life experiences, you learn better from the world, from life, because then that's how you learn yourself as a person and how you are intending to transfer over your qualities into whichever career path you're trying to pursue. I think just getting a better understanding of how you make it work for yourself and not how you work with it, if that makes any sense.
All right, thank y'all so much for answering our, thank y'all so much for answering our questions. All right, so we're gonna start the Q&A segment. So we have our two agents, VR and Josie, help us out with that. So if there's any people in the audience or even people joining us online that has any questions, we'll go ahead and get that started. Yes, the guy, Jeff.
If you could switch jobs for one day, what job would it be?
Like in general, or like just in general? Oh man, Kardashian. That seems really easy, I don't know.
I'd be a pro fisherman for a day, without a doubt.
For a day, be a professional athlete just to see how it is.
I would transfer
Makes
so
sense.
much money to my accounts. So much money, crazy.
All right, any more questions from the audience?
Uh-oh.
Yes, the guy in the gray sweater in the back. Very bald.
Good evening.
Good evening.
We always talk about, the positives in our career paths. We all work with young students or humans, and just people in general. What are some of the things that you struggle with the most in your positions? Because again, we always talk about the positives, but we never talk about the negatives. What are some of the negative things about your careers, and how do you overcome them to make you a better person in your career path for those people that you impact?
That's a good one.
Wow. I could talk for like an hour on that one.
I'll go ahead and go. I think for me personally, I always want to ensure that my program isn't just about winning. I mean, I love winning, but that's not always going to happen, apparently. I think it's trying to guide these young would-be adults to be a better version of themselves, and it's not always well-received. Stubbornness, ego, just getting them out of their comfort zone is a big one, and just not taking it personally. When you give them the tools, you give them all the help that you believe you can, and they still find a way to not succeed. I think just not taking it personally and just learning from it, taking it on the chin, and moving forward for your own sanity.
I'd say probably weaknesses for me that I'm painfully aware of is not acknowledging my weaknesses enough, and then surrounding myself with people who are strong in areas where I'm weak. That is something I'm painfully aware of, and I'm realized if I could have, when I was 20 years ago, if I could have realized what my own weaknesses were, been honest about my weaknesses, and then surrounded myself with people who were strong where I'm weak, I don't have any major regrets, but if that was one, it would be not acknowledging my weaknesses and then getting people who are strong in the areas where I'm weak.
For me, is understanding that everything's going to go to plan. You can't be perfect every single time. Even though you could have all the planning in the world, understand everything, it's not going to happen all the time. Something could fall through, something might not go a specific way, so it's just understanding that not everything's going to fall perfectly into place how it should.
All right, any more questions? Oh, the lady back there in the blue sweater.
What would y'all say is the most character building part of your job?
You got Russell thinking.
No.
I guess I'll go. For me, it's just seeing the spectrum of where students can be at their lows and at their highs. So it really puts everything kind of in perspective for me of understanding of how fortunate I am and how much different my life could easily be.
I think for me, it's just every year I come across new kind of dilemmas that a lot of these athletes have, where I can see a version of myself that had to go through that, and maybe at the time I didn't process it well enough, and I didn't have someone there for me to process it, and life has definitely helped me guide my athletes through their dilemmas or kind of diffuse what would be major breakdowns, which weren't that big of a deal. But when I was 17, 18, they were everything to me too. So I think that just kind of helped me understand that everything I've gone through, everything I've done was for a reason, and that's what we're doing now.
Any more questions from the crowd? The lady in the white.
Lady in red.
What brought you guys to work at USW?
Don't look at me.
Oh, Russell didn't answer the last question, so let's start.
Take it.
So, to follow up to Amanda's question, because I have to go in order. Most character building part of my job career would be just kind of my answer to the last question. Realizing my own weaknesses and then having the ability to let go of my pride enough to try to ask someone to help me where I'm weak. So that's how I would answer that one. How did I end up here? Is that what your question was? Like working at the university. Brian Arnold called me in August of 2022, or July maybe 2022, and asked me if I wanted to apply to be the new campus pastor. And there was a lot of questions that I had to ask, and so I asked those questions, got some good answers, and then interviewed with Amanda, and she called me and said, hey, you want to come be the campus pastor? I said, sure. Yep.
I came in 2013. I graduated from high school in 2011 on a D2 basketball scholarship. Was not a good time at all. It was quite horrible, actually. Took a year off. Then I had some friends that were at the JC in here. Like, oh, you could play both? And I was like, why not? So I came for a tryout. Basketball coach didn't even see me play. He was like, you're in the starting lineup. I was like, that's crazy. That's insane. Played volleyball and basketball, got my bachelor's, master's, just kind of stuck around. I think being a part of the programs and kind of making history with the success and the failures and everything, I think it's something that's really important for me to kind of take under my wing to create a better legacy for. But yeah, I think loyalty was a big thing for me.
Well, what originally brought me here was I got recruited out of high school to play baseball. Played here for 4 years, and then after I graduated, they happened to have a job opportunity that, of course, I applied for, and they offered to me. But what mainly came here is I embedded myself into the culture, and I like the culture that's built around here. So, thought it'd be a good spot to stay for a little bit.
Any more questions?
Oh.
The guy in the gray sweater
I
staring
think
me
we should
down.
have a limit of one per guest.
One per guess. You gotta make
It's
it.
only the 4 questions, so I think we're okay.
So here's 2 questions for you all. If a 18 to 22-year-old came up to you and was seeking advice about a career, what would your most influential, impactful answer be to them? What's the best advice you can give to a person that doesn't know what they want to do? And then also on top of that, who is the most influential person in your life?
Oof, that's a good one.
Go ahead and go first, John. You look ready.
So what advice would I give? I would ask them what they're passionate about, figure out kind of what they're passionate about, what areas do they like the most, and kind of lead them that way. Figure figure out a plan for them to kind of follow that plan would be kind of the way of advice that I would lean towards. And then for the person that's most influential in my life would probably be my dad. He's kind of pushed me to do everything I did and everything that I enjoy. He did in some form or fashion either push me to do it or introduce me to introduce me to the topic of whatever I liked.
Russell?
So the first question was, what would I say to an 18 to 22-year-old who's seeking to find their career? The best advice, I would say take your time. You're 18 to 22 years old. If you work until you're 65 or so, that's a lot of time to decide. So I would say, don't feel like you have to decide at this exact moment right now. Take your time and be wise in choosing your career path. I think that's the one piece I would say the most. And probably the most influential person in my life, I would say, is my dad. My dad did not go to college. He started his own business the year I was born, and he built it into a really successful business. But it is because of my dad that I wanted to go to college and not work as hard as he did. And so, I mean, you could say he influenced me in a way. I'm like, my dad worked 60 to 80 hours a week, and, you know, he would go to work before we got up and come to work after we got done. I'm like, I don't want to live that life of working 80 hours a week. And so, but he's made himself an incredibly successful business now. And anyway, so yeah, I would say my dad.
My advice, because I probably get asked like on a daily basis by my children, just to relax, calm down, enjoy it, smell the flowers. Because I was that 18-year-old who made everything matter, everything was so significant, and it cost me a lot of fun things, a lot of learning experiences, a lot of life, just because I was so focused on being a people pleaser, really, and not really doing the things because I wanted to, but because I thought that's what was expected of me to be successful. And I mean, it got me far in certain aspects, but I really wasn't doing things for my own benefit. It was to accommodate to others. So I just tell y'all to calm down and really take a minute to actually like yourselves, let alone get to know yourselves on a singular level. Most influential person, I'm gonna go ahead and co-sign, say my dad. That man's work ethic is ridiculous. He's been an educator for the past 4 decades. I don't think he's ever gonna retire. He'll probably die at his desk, to be honest. And I think that's something he wouldn't mind, but wakes up every morning at 4:30, gets home at 5, and repeats forever.
Do we have any more questions or any questions from people online?
No mas.
Hold on.
Frequent flyer. Gray sweater guy.
Do we have any questions online by chance? Josie? All right, guy in the gray sweater.
What is something that everybody should strive for by the time they retire?
Great question.
Learning to drink black coffee.
I think just try to be financially stable or you don't have to work another job again.
I think finding fulfillment in relationships outside of the job. That way, when you do retire, you have people to hang out with, honestly. I'd like to travel the world and have friends in like Italy, Greece, Mars, I don't know. Broaden your horizons.
Perfect.
Write a book.
So we do have an online question.
Yeah, we have a question from social media. In a job interview, how would you advise someone to answer the question, what are your strengths and weaknesses?
We'll go ahead and start with Russell on that one.
Well, I would say how to answer that question is be aware ahead of time that that is a question that could come up and write your answers down. Like, I'm not telling you to go take notes into a job interview, but write your answers down so that you know what your strengths and weaknesses are and be honest about that. Like, don't oversell your strengths and don't undersell your weaknesses. Wait, is that right? Don't over,
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it would do you well to research the company, the gig, whatever it is you're trying to interview with. I mean, I don't want y'all to be liars, but you want the job. So let's say the gig is being a manager at Apple. Oh, I suck at putting a phone together, or something like that. If you're answering a question, you want to seem knowledgeable of what the system is, the company, what their actual priorities are, their mission statement, everything like that, to just look better prepared for the interview. But yeah, don't be an outright liar, but be prepared for it and be honest about it. I've gained an understanding that employers love honesty and room for growth. Because if you go in there and you're polished, you're perfect, I mean, you might get the job, but there's no room for you to grow, and you're not going to be looked at as someone that can prosper within the company.
Any more questions? Oh, yeah, John, my bad, John.
I guess it's just true, like, understand what your strengths and weaknesses are. You don't want to straight up just lie to the company that you're employing to. So if you understand what your strengths and weaknesses are, you can really try to highlight exactly what you're strong at. And then, of course, some weaknesses, of course, you don't want to try to highlight them, but if you understand what they are and you're able to go in, even just into the interview, and you're just confident about, oh, I'm strong at this and I'm weak at this, it could be enough just to persuade and show that even though they are your weakness, you're willing to work and make those weaknesses your strengths.
Any more questions? All right, I'm going to hand it over to Brian Arnold.
All right, well, while our moderators and panelists are making their way back to their seats, let's give them a round of applause.
Making my way.
Did an excellent job. I'm apparently the career guy here, and they probably answered these questions way better than I could, so they did a great job. All right, so now we are to our segment here where we have some gift cards to give away here. And we have a really cool new basket here that's made out of pure gold, and it's very quiet, doesn't make any noise at all. You'll hear otherwise when they come up here. But anyway, so Josie and VR are going to come up here and announce the gift card winners. So I'm going to hand it over to Josie.
All right, so our first raffle winner will be for pre-registering and or asking a question. So we're going to spin it and we're going to pick. We'll have 2 winners for this. Two, 1, 9, 2, 3, 6, 0. Yeah, Coach Apollo. Woo! Okay, come on up and get your gift card. Yeah. They put it all together? Yeah. $25. Woo! You can keep it. It's a present. Yay, thank you. Oh, yeah, take a picture with us. Cadence is over there. All right. Do we have to? Did I spin it? Yeah, I guess. Spin it again? Do you want us to spin it again? All right. All right, and our next winner. They're all getting stuck. They're all like kind of stuck. 2, 1, 9, 2, 3, 4, 6. Yeah, Lucy. I know, I knew her name. Perfect. All right, and now our next 2 gift cards are for correctly guessing one of our panelists on Instagram. So our first winner is Cadence. Yeah, Cadence. And the other person that guessed the panelists correctly was Audie, who disappeared, so.
I get it.
I'm gonna hand it back over to Brian now. Thank you guys.
All right. So again, let's give our CIA agents, Gabe, Philip, BR, and Josie, a round of applause, and again, our panelists for the great job they did. All right. So this concludes our event, and y'all feel free to stay after for some homemade cookies and refreshments. All right. Thank y'all for coming. Y'all have a good evening.